it did come across a bit despondent, which is unusual for him, considering as well, like he was so upbeat with this weekend, but he kind of went into it.
Yeah. And it's not just like the sport itself, because I think the sport itself is like a vacuum. It's everyone that works sort of in the surrounding peripherals of it that we find also super fascinating. And it just sheds lights on all these roles that we didn't know were there or available, or how much it takes to actually put a GP together or like to support a team. So we've found so much inspiration, and it's like, it's like you keep looking in the corners and you keep digging and you just keep finding more and more treasure. And it's just like, Sarah and I find inspiration almost like every day.
You have to imagine that starting the season and Perez being with Max, that they would have had those conversations about, okay, these are our priorities for the season. I'm really interested to see how that plays out, because it's almost like we're getting a Hamilton Bottas situation again, that the second driver that everyone knows is the second driver really standing up for themselves and not wanting to put up with that is really interesting.
Sarah, I just need to touch upon this. Why do you not like Yuki?
Hi guys, welcome back to On the Chicane. You're here with me, Paris, and my co-host Marium. And as you can see, we've got a couple of guests today. We are joined by Sarah and Samantha from Gridclique. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So if you don't know about Gridclique, they are content creators who champion women in motorsport in the sphere. They are from across the pond. So they are joining us right now from America. And we are so happy to have you. You guys are our first guests, so welcome.
Yeah, thank you for having us. Super excited.
This is awesome. Yeah, when we got the call, we're like, yes.
That's what we like to hear. Yeah. It's nice to see like such smiley faces on a terrible Monday afternoon, because we are literally in the grey of London. So I'm seeing like the Miami sun, and I'm definitely well jealous. Can you guys tell us a bit about Gridclique? Samantha, I'm going to come to you. Do you want to like just tell us about what you guys do, how long you've been established, and tell us a bit about yourselves?
Long answer, we have been established, I would think, almost over a year, maybe a year. Yeah, but we changed names. We were originally Women of GP when we were on Clubhouse. Sarah and I met on Clubhouse, and we had established the forum, I would say, what it was in its initial stage, with two other women. And then we decided to go on our own in a very different direction. We would say that there was like the inertia for conversation, the inertia for content around women specifically in the sport, just kind of like took us by surprise and pushed us in this direction. Like I think a lot of people find that sort of momentum with things, and we decided to rebrand and really do something that was truly true to our idea of what we wanted, and steer the community in, but also just to be inclusive and have a wide net to welcome anyone in the community. So we came up with a name called Gridclique. And although clique is like almost exclusionary, it's like, no, everyone is welcome in this case. And we wanted to take away sort of the gendered women of GP, because we really, while our initial mandate was to talk to women in motorsport, we really wanted to talk to other players in the sports that are doing very cool things that don't get a lot of light shone on them. And it's been kind of amazing. When we switched, I'll leave Sarah to like tell the story, but when we almost hit the button to switch the names, Sarah was just like, I'm so scared. And I'm like, I'm so excited, like both in our own really like worlds, but they complement each other. And I think that's like Sarah and I in general, nice. And what we want to bring to Gridclique.
Super. It sounds like you guys have like just similar energy and I guess similar goals. And then when you find somebody, it's like me and Mariam finding each other by chance on Twitter. So similar to you guys finding each other on Clubhouse and realizing that somebody has like the same kind of intentions and the same kind of passion that you have. And then realizing that you guys can like take it forward. I think that's so cool and so amazing. And I like what you were saying about kind of changing direction and like reorienting yourself so that you become a bit more inclusive to the wider aspects of the sport. So where are you guys going with it now, and what's your kind of aim? What kind of fun stuff have you been up to? Sarah, I know you've just been in Miami, so I don't know if you want to tell us a bit about that.
So I live in Miami, so going to Miami GP was an amazing experience. And it was something that we are super lucky to be able to do. So through Gridclique, we actually were able to go through the W Series and try to shine a light on some of the drivers there. So we are in the process of putting out all of that content of what we were doing there with the W Series. And then for next steps, Samantha and I are actually both headed to Montreal. So we will be in Montreal together, and we are hopefully going to be doing a lot of fun things at the Montreal GP as well on behalf of Gridclique. So that's something that we're super excited to just continue taking our conversations, spotlighting women and other experts in the industry, taking it offline and being able to do it in person, and being able to do lives with the experts, or be able to do live interviews or record interviews in person. Obviously, Gridclique and Women of GP was born out of the pandemic. So being able to bring it back to being in person and bringing out and kind of move forward in that aspect has been really exciting.
Nice. Is there anybody in particular that you have your eye on that you really want to speak to, or is there anybody that you've come across and you're just so amazed by them and you're just really like looking to champion them?
We have a long bucket list. Samantha and I probably talk about this like every week. It's like, oh, we should get this person on. We should get this person on. And we've actually gotten some traction from some really exciting people that we hope to be announcing soon. Not to be like one of those annoying people. It's like, I can't tell you that something is coming, but something is coming. So that's been amazing. And then again, at Montreal GP, we are in the process of lining a few things up, which could be really, really exciting as well. So, for me personally, idols in this space, I think Ruth Buscombe, I'm not gonna be able to pronounce her last name correctly. She's in strategy at Alpha, and like, I just think that she is an amazing human. So she's like definitely a bucket list person. It's just, there's so many incredible women in the sport that just people don't know about, and people don't know that they're there, and people don't know that they exist. So we hope that one by one, we can kind of turn leaves and turn them over and expose them so people can see that there are these amazing women in the sport.
Definitely.
And it's not just like the sport itself, because I think the sport itself is like a vacuum. It's everyone that works sort of in the surrounding peripherals of it that we find also super fascinating. And it just sheds lights on all these roles that we didn't know were there or available, or how much it takes to actually put a GP together, or like to support a team. So we've found so much inspiration, and it's like, it's like you keep looking in the corners and you keep digging and you just keep finding more and more treasure. And it's just like, Sarah and I find inspiration almost like every day, and it's almost like a fairy tale. And I hope I don't like the other shoe doesn't drop, because like it's just seamless and it's easy, and it's like people want to talk, as you both probably really know, like people just want to talk. And when you connect with them on a authentic level, when you treat them like people and not as a means to an end, which I think there's been a lot of skepticism, I think, that way, like people are like, what do they want from me, or like, are they trying to get to someone else through me? Like we just want to highlight you, we just want to talk about you, like, tell us, and quite frankly, we should be paying them for all the inspiration they give us. We don't have a budget for anyone, but it's just been so incredibly fun. And we're testing out different types of content pieces. Like we had our livery report, and then we had our sponsorship report, and then we have another one coming up quite soon that we're going to drop. And then Sarah's like freaking killing it with all the reels. Like it's just been an absolute good time. And as like marketing and communication professionals, it's just great to dabble in things that like your regular day job doesn't allow you to do. And I think both of you could probably attest to that as well.
Because this is your hobby as well, right? Yeah.
I think I want to really touch on that point and just say how much of an amazing job you guys are doing, because when I started on the chicane, I had such a vision for it, and I started out doing all these things, but now working in the industry as well as doing this on the side, which is like a hobby thing, I unfortunately have let the ball kind of drop massively on the chicane. And it's just amazing seeing what you guys are doing with Gridclique, because I think the content has been incredible, and I'm loving it. Everything that you've brought out has been amazing. So for anyone who's watching and who is unfamiliar with you guys, I really want you to go and check them out, because you're doing something that is so different in this space. There's a lot of content creators who have come out of the pandemic, and I think it's been so important for everyone to kind of find their niche and find what works for them. And I can see that you guys are obviously still growing and still trying to figure out different things, but so far, I mean, touch wood, everything's worked really well for you. So I'm really excited to see what else comes out of Gridclique, and excited for the future for both of you. It's been amazing to see.
That's so kind to say. And it really, like, you know, Mariam, I feel you a lot. Like, Sarah and I often have this like push and pull, like, I'm super busy today or this week, and it's like blackout week for me. And we always reassure each other, I got you. Like, that's why we're two people. And I'm sure you and Paris have like very similar dialogue.
Literally.
And yeah. And it's like, you know, one week someone's pulling 70%, the other week someone's pulling, you know, like full 100%. And it just shifts. And there's a lot of communication, and it's really like a relationship, which is great. It's the fact that you brought up that there's so much content creators out there. And I think with women specifically, we're just like, there's a piece of the pie for everyone. Like, everyone create your art, everyone create your content, and we are here to support. There is no competition. There is no like putting down. Like, we all understand the space as women is hard to get into. So it's been very awesome and like fruitful to be able to support. And like, for instance, just being on the Chicane podcast today is like freaking awesome. Like, it's just, yeah. Anyway, Sarah, do you have anything to add? I'm a babbler.
No, babble away. Love it.
Thank you, Mariam and Paris. Well, even for having us, you know, we've known you guys, it seems like forever now. And, you know, we've been wanting to continue creating content with you guys. So this is just a super exciting process. But even just what Samantha was saying, is that there is such an amazing supportive community out there of, you know, female fans and women fans, but also of new fans, of people who found it through Drive to Survive, people who found it through the pandemic. And being able to make sure that there's a space that everyone can talk and have those conversations and chat with each other and support each other has been something that, again, like Samantha and I just find so much inspiration in. So even though this is like a passion project for us and we're doing it aside, it fuels us through the rest of our lives. Like, when we're stressed at work or when we're stressed doing something, we'll turn to Gridclique and we'll turn to the community to like bring that fire and energy back to us. So that's something that we've been finding truly fruitful.
Amazing. I think, you know, it's just like Mariam said, amazing to see where you guys have come from, amazing to see where you're going, and we're super excited to see it. Just really quickly, for people who don't know where you are, where can they find you? Let's drop that in there from now so that they don't have to look for it.
Yeah, 100%. So we are on Instagram primarily. So that's at Gridclique, CLIQUE. We have a TikTok. We're not really on it that often. Our series that we're posting right now, so we are doing a 5-part series with the W series, the Women of Court Dow, which is one of the W series teams. We will be dropping that both on Instagram and on TikTok. We actually had one TikTok blow up, and it happened to be the one about Max's nipple rings. Classic. So like, give the internet what they want. I don't know. But all of our interviews we do on Instagram Live. We have them scheduled and we post all of our reports on there. So that's really where you can find us.
Nice. So let's get into what we are intending to talk about today, which is the Spanish Grand Prix in Barcelona, Catalonia. And, you know, it was a whole weekend. People, all the teams were coming with different upgrades. So everybody was quite excited for this weekend just to see the difference between testing, which was obviously at the same circuit, and how, you know, the different impact that these upgrades could have. So the first thing I really want to talk about is Red Bull Gate. Or should I say Green Bull Gate. So we had the Aston Martin team come with upgrades, which were deemed to be legal by FIA standards, we must say. But they looked a little familiar, if we do say so ourselves. So Sarah, what was your take on that? Like, how did you feel? What did you notice? And yeah.
Yeah, so Red Bull Gate, Aston Gate. I thought that was really interesting because, I mean, everyone is critical of the FIA and what decisions they make and what decisions they don't make. And I think it's really interesting. Well, I mean, of course, they hold all of the power. So, they'll be very harsh on some rules and very loose on others. So I thought it was interesting that this was one that they had decided to kind of just let pass, especially with so much drama that's happened in past years with Racing Point and some other teams that have done very similar things and trying to copy other cars. The fact that it's a recurring pattern, I would have thought the FA would be a bit more strict on it, but also for me, it's just fun tea to watch and makes good for memes. So I thought it was just kind of fun.
If you were Red Bull, Samantha, would you be protesting right now?
Oh my God, I think it's very interesting that they haven't protested, but I feel like Christian Horner's protests are like on social media. Like he just like throws jabs and then he just like leaves it there. And you're just like, what's going on here? Would I be protesting? I mean, he protests about everything. So I'm surprised that they haven't. However, like with the idea of like, let's talk about the idea of consistency here. The FIA for the past season or so has been pretty inconsistent. So the fact that this decision came out, I don't know if I'd say it's wrong. I've been thinking about it a lot, and it's like first we had the pink Ferrari and now we have the green Red Bull. It's like there's a certain pattern of people that it's following. But with that said, Christian Horner did release a statement saying that a lot of people have gone from Red Bull to Aston Martin, and it's like if your NDAs and your agreements don't cover IP or certain aspects of IP, that's like you can't whine about that. Sorry, like people will take what they learn from one workplace and move to another. That's how innovation happens. So I'm kind of like Sarah, I love to see it. Let's like I could, if the FIA is taking their hands off of this to see and advance the sport technologically, then I'm happy for it. I don't know if that's necessarily their reasoning, but that might be a byproduct of it.
I think towards the end of the year anyway, we're going to see a lot of this, like the best components of the year will kind of make it to whatever spec that it ends up at, like Abu Dhabi. I imagine like a lot of the cars will start to look a bit more similar, and obviously into next year. I think they're just getting a head start on it, to be honest. I think they're just taking it from the beginning. We could maybe like touch on a little bit later whether or not the upgrades worked. But I see Marium rolling her eyes right there. But I do think it's just like really interesting that it's Aston Martin Racing Point again. I think that's more like it's like it's the same team that are doing the same tactics, but clearly, as the FIA have said, that then they haven't done anything wrong at the moment, but we wait to see what happens from that. Marium, how was quali for you? How was the weekend? And how are you feeling about Ferraris? You got your Ferrari boys who were.
I mean, I'm upset, okay? Overall, I'm upset because, high hopes for Leclerc. Quali was bloody amazing because I did panic because I was like, okay, this doesn't look like it's gonna go well. Like he wasn't really putting in the best time. And then I think when he did his last outlap, obviously he managed to get pole. And it was just everything that I wanted, obviously, as a Ferrari fan. And then the race, I don't really have the words for it. It was like Monaco a week earlier than it needs to be, because I don't know how is Monaco going to go down for Leclerc on Sunday, because we all know he doesn't have the best luck. But it was just like, this is not what we need, and especially with the championship still being so tight between himself and Max. Obviously now Max has the lead by I think it's like 6 points or something, and it's just frustrating because as well as what happened with Leclerc, Sainz didn't have the best weekend. So Ferrari, they seem to get off to a really good start, which seems to slowly be slipping away. I'm really hoping it's not an indicator or indicative of what is going to happen over the next few races. But I do know that obviously teams are now starting to bring in upgrades and see where they can perform better. So I suppose we'll just kind of have to see how it plays out. But I'm really worried that it's going to be a repeat of what we've seen. I think it was in 2018, actually, where Ferrari got off to a really good start and then Mercedes just came and ruined everything. So yeah, it's frustrating as a fan to see. But, you know, one race is just a race. We've still got like a million others to go this season. So fingers crossed.
Yeah, let's get into the race. So that first lap, you know, as you said, Leclerc was on pole, Verstappen's in second. You know, everything looks pretty good. I think Leclerc, they both had a really good, solid getaway. And you had, you know, Magnussen and Lewis Hamilton coming together, George Russell bumping on Perez, and you had Alonso like racing up through the laps. So Magnussen moved over and tried to come around the outside of Lewis Hamilton and ends up like brushing the side of his tire, causing a puncture and causing Lewis to like tumble back. Also, Magnussen tumbles back with some floor damage. Now, it was deemed a racing incident, but he was like really going for Hamilton afterwards, saying that it was Hamilton's fault. So Sam, like, how did you feel? What were you thinking when this was happening?
At first, I thought it was actually Magnussen's fault. I thought he might have like just cut in the line a little overzealously. And then you watch, I didn't think they showed too many clips of it. Like, you know, like if Max and Lewis were to collide, there's like, for the rest of the race, that's all you're watching. Like those are the recaps and you're like, all right, I got enough, like all this angle, drone angle, like you're like, great. But they didn't really show too much.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, I just like sort of like wrote it off as a racing incident myself. But they drove like really different races. Oh my God.
Definitely.
The difference. And I think one of the things that was so incredible to me was the fact that, you know, Lewis had said, let's just, you know, let's DNF the car, let's box it. And they were like, no, we think you can get P8. So keep going. And you're just like, how do they know that? Obviously, there's like predictive analytics and everything, but it was just, it was wild. And if you think of like the mentality and the psychology of a winner, you're just, you know, I guess sometimes they get that down and they're just like, you got to go back out there. And he ended up getting like what, P5, P6 was it? I don't know. Yeah, P5. You know, and then Magnussen maybe got P15. I don't even know. Like he was like in the last 5, vastly different drives. And I don't know if it's a matter of like just put your head down and keep going, where Magnussen took the approach of, you know, stewing in it, not focusing, not concentrating, because sometimes that's the difference. You know, even though they both had some damage, or I mean, I don't really think that they let us know what kind of damage to the mechanics of the car that they both had, or that could impact the rest of the race. But maybe that was the deciding factor, that Lewis had a team to encourage him to keep going, and he had the fortitude to keep going. And, you know, Magnussen probably just got lost in concentration. But all this to say is I think it was a racing incident. I didn't get to see much more than that.
I think you're right. Like he did have that kind of moment where he was worried or like sad, or perhaps he could have also been being more like just thinking about the bigger picture, thinking about the longevity of the car. It did come across a bit despondent, which is unusual for him, considering as well, like he was so upbeat with this weekend, but he kind of went into it. And it's very rare that you hear him kind of throw in the towel. So I do like think maybe in his mind as well, he was thinking just like about the longevity of the car and like saving the PU and stuff. But I'm really glad that his team just said to him, like, you know, go get it, you can do it, because we got to see another amazing Hamilton drive, right? Like we got to see him come back, and then he kind of like comes back and almost gets like up to where George is as well, and George ended up in the podium. So you do start to wonder, like, oh, if he hadn't had that bad luck, you know, where would he have been? Where could he have ended up? But on the other hand, like you had George, who through his own fortune was like literally up there for the whole race, battling Verstappen. He had like 2 or 3 corners where they were going, like Verstappen thought that he got him and then he didn't get him. Did
DRS
that excite
problems.
you, Sarah? Say that again.
DRS problems.
DRS problems for Verstappen. So yeah, did that excite you? How was that for you, Sarah? Like, what were you thinking?
Yeah, so I mean, I think backtracking a little bit to the Hamilton thing, I really respect him as a driver. I respect him as a human. I thought he was being a baby, and I thought he was just being like a sore loser. And I was like annoyed by it because I'm never in his position, so I can't actually say how someone should feel in that position because, of course,
really, Sarah, you've never driven a Formula One car on the track and
shockingly not.
No. Okay, cool.
I again fully respect what he did with that car and how he was able to bring it back up to P5. I just think that he should have more faith in himself because he's proven that to himself time and time and time again, because he's done that same exact thing time and time and time again. So I don't know. That was my initial reaction to that. But I think for the George and Verstappen battle, that was especially interesting because of, obviously, as we just mentioned, Verstappen's DRS issues. And it kind of excited me. It made me think that maybe not as many DRSs should be allowed in a race because it actually made them race. It made them truly show their skill on their track and not just like press a button and zoom around and like be able to overtake, right? Like they were able to have that true battle, and you're seeing people overtake without kind of a cheat code to do it. So I personally really liked that.
It's interesting as well because they say that you can't overtake around Barcelona. It's not a track that's known for overtaking, but Max, you know, they had to change him to the softer tires in order for him to do it, but he still did it. Do you know what I mean? Like he still was able to pressure George, and they were still able to go toe to toe a little bit. So like you said, maybe it is a good thing if they start restricting some of the DRS zones, but maybe increasing the amount of tires that they can have access to or something like that, so that there's a little bit more variation again with the racing strategies. I think that was the interesting thing, right? Like this whole race, I don't know about you guys, but I was trying to figure out who was on what racing strategy and who was going to end up where at what time, who was on a 2-stopper, who was on a 3-stopper, and like how that was going to impact the end position of the race. Mariam, like, what about you? How are you feeling?
I think this kind of leads on to the discussion about Verstappen and his luck this weekend. We may have all seen the clip that's going around on social media. It was British reporting, BBC News, which have basically said that Verstappen was gifted the win. I think they literally used the words gifted because obviously Leclerc had a DNF, and then George obviously just couldn't match the pace, and then Perez was given team orders to give position to Verstappen, and obviously he had DRS issues, so everyone was kind of trolling him for that on social media as well. But I think in terms of the Russell Verstappen fight, it was exciting because to see a Mercedes in that battle with the championship leader, considering we've not seen that from Mercedes this entire season, it's been nice to kind of potentially consider the fact that Mercedes may be on the up and it may be a 3-way championship fight again. I mean, I know that's very unlikely because it was just one race, but it was nice to see that potential in Mercedes. And also, again, with Hamilton's performance, him managing to bring that car from the back of the grid up to P4 at one point, and then having to drop down to P5, I think was quite exciting for any Mercedes fan to see the potential. But then going back to what happened with Max, I think he was very lucky, and I think luck is the big word for this race for Max, because I don't think realistically that was his win. I think more so would have been Perez's if it weren't for the team orders. And I know that Perez did say afterwards, like, the team and I need to speak. So yeah, obviously there's a bit of politics going on in the Red Bull garage. understandably, because Max is their golden boy and they're fighting for his championship, but it would have been just as important for Perez, I think. And his fight with, I think he's currently battling with George in the championship. So for Perez to kind of gain those points from George, it would have been super important for them. So yeah, I don't know. I think given the fact that Leclerc had DNF'd, it wouldn't have been a massive issue for them to put Perez at the forefront of this race as opposed to giving that race to Max.
Yeah. I think, do you guys think, to all of you, do you think it's too early for the team orders that have happened?
You have to imagine that starting the season and Perez being with Max, that they would have had those conversations about, okay, these are our priorities for the season. I'm really interested to see how that plays out, because it's almost like we're getting a Hamilton-Bottas situation again, that when it comes to like the championship winning car, it seems like the championship winning car, well, they are ahead of the championship at the moment, that they're really having to make those decisions. And you see the second driver that everyone knows is the second driver really standing up for themselves and not wanting to put up with that is really interesting. So definitely a lot of politics, definitely a lot of sass, and I'm interested to see how that continues through the rest of the season. And again, I mean, I have to imagine they would have had those conversations that Max is priority because they think that he's going to win the championship, but Perez seems surprised by that. So maybe they haven't.
What about you, Sam?
It's interesting because like Red Bull has been understood that they're a driver first, I think, Max first, where Ferrari takes the approach of like team first, like first Ferrari and then it's the individuals. I always had this impression or this idea that once Perez got through his 1-year contract with Red Bull and had proven himself, that if he found some comfort, he found some like sort of ease with the team. I was always under the impression that he was going to start asking for more. He's a great support for the team, but I think there needs to be a little bit of give and take. Like he could have won that race very easily, although there, people were saying that Max had better pace than Perez. But I think, if you want to keep your employees happy, you need to give a little, and that should have been a good win for Perez. But Sarah brought up a really great point. You would have thought that this would have been spoken about at the beginning of the season.
But he did seem surprised.
He did seem surprised. Yeah, it's like, was there a switch in strategy that was discussed without him? I think we all don't like being caught off guard in our jobs, and I think you have to ask: is this gonna be bad for the rest of the season? Is this going to be a crack in their foundation?
Yeah.
Because
no second driver likes it. Like Bottas, there was lots of moments like last year where you could kind of see that he was almost hesitant to do the team strategy because he felt like it would be detrimental to him. And every single racing driver who's on that track, they always say, I'm here to race, I'm here to win, I'm here to win championships. And I don't think that's any different for the second driver of the Red Bull team, because the team wants to focus on Max. And I think everybody can kind of see that, but Red Bull maybe doesn't agree with that like approach. They just want to go with the sure thing, and they think if they throw everything behind Max, then he's a sure thing, and they will win, and they will win the Constructors' Championship and the Drivers' Championship for Max. But I think if you kind of create that animosity where you're really compromising your second driver when you don't need to, then that's when you start getting that friction. And a lot of people say that Max was faster, and it's not Max's fault that he had the DRS issues, but it's not Perez's fault that Max had the DRS issues either. And it's not Perez's fault that Max, got blown off by a gust of wind and like was slower and ended up behind. Like, it's not Perez's fault. So why should he have to suffer? If he's doing well and his race is going well, why should his race have to be compromised? So, I mean, I'm Team Checo, and we know I'm Team Checo. So the only reason I'm happy for him that he's in Red Bull is that he's got a good drive. But since he was in McLaren, I've never liked people disrespecting Checo. So I don't know. I think he should like kick up a fuss personally.
I think also just on top of that,
yeah,
Checo is one of the second Red Bull drivers to actually be able to handle that car really well in a number of years.
That is so true.
So being able to have someone who not only can handle the car well, but also gets a lot of respect from the fans, you know, has an amazing press around him. Like he has been the best driver outside of Max for Red Bull in years, and not giving him the opportunity to capitalize on that is such a shame to me.
You took the words right out of my mouth. And what I would add is he brings a lot of sponsorship.
Yeah.
Just like an honest to God great driver.
Yeah, I think it's just indicative again of the whole trio of Horner, Marco, and Verstappen, and the little boys club that they've got going on. And it's a shame because, Sarah, you've literally hit the nail on the head. Gasly wasn't able to do it. Kvyat wasn't able to do it. There's been a lot of people who've not been able to, you know, step up and manage that car, manage that position, whereas Perez has done a really bloody good job. And for them to not be supporting him in the way that he needs as that second driver is really unfair. And yeah, it just kind of fuels the fire of like how Max is Horner's golden boy, and it's just, yeah, it's not nice. So yeah, I'm hoping that there is a bit of justice for Checo going forward, and that Red Bull do have those serious conversations that need to be had in their garage.
Definitely.
But I think another driver that we can speak about, who I'm not his biggest fan, don't really like him, so over him, don't think he should be in Formula One anymore. But he had a good race.
That's how you really feel, Mariam. I can't tell.
Alonso managed to drive a really good race yesterday, and I hate to say those words because I'm so over him being in Formula One, but he is actually performing really well. So yeah, I just want
Alpines, I think, as well, like, because Ocon was ended up being in 7th, and then Alonso started at the back of the grid, which is why I'm guessing you're kind of like highlighting him in particular, because he ended up in 9th in the points. But the fact that both Alpines did really well, like yesterday.
Yeah, are doing really well. So I just wanted to, I suppose, get your opinion on what you also think of Alonso, and if you think he should be in Formula One, and B, how you think his race was and his performance yesterday.
I'm just going to start off. I completely agree with you about him. He is, I mean, I, again, respect him fully as a driver of his time. He's a great driver, but I think it's time to kind of let it go and let one of the rookies in and let one of the younger drivers in. There is such an amazing talent pool of new drivers that need to be able to come in and like show their stuff and have the time to do that. And a lot of them are getting older because there's just not enough space in the sport. So I agree that his
devil's advocate. I'm actually agreeing with Mariam. I think we did a video at the beginning of this year and the beginning of last year, like why is he here? However, he is performing. So if he's performing and if he's getting the points and, you know, he's doing the overtakes, he's making the max out of the car, what grounds do they have to get rid of him?
I have a hard time with Alonso. When they came out with that sort of press release, not they, I don't know who, there was, you know, it was going around leading into this GP about an announcement at the British Grand Prix about whether or not who they were going to switch up in their Alpine team. I got a little sad because I think it's amazing for viewers now in our generation to see, you know, drivers from 10 years ago, or not just to see, and also see them perform with the young guns as well. Like, I like that dialogue between the drivers, and I think that there's so much merit to having older drivers in the sport as well, especially if you look at like a mentor-mentee sort of relationship within a team.
Yeah, like Lewis and George.
Exactly. And I think if they're performing, keep them on. Obviously, if they're not performing, obviously switch it up, but I do feel like, yes, the sport needs to develop their F2 drivers and that sort of pipeline. With that, though, there could be a solution, like they're looking at bringing in more teams. I don't know how many more teams. But as far as Alonso, I kind of enjoy him. I'm so sorry. I know he's so problematic, but Mario, I'm so sorry. After you had like listed all those things, I was like, shit. I kind of enjoy him. Like, it's also like a talking piece with me and like viewers who have watched, when he was first on the grid, and it's great to have that conversation, and also to like patch and bridge between two like different generations of F1 fans. I really enjoy that part of it.
Classic Canadian Samantha for apologizing for her feelings and her opinion.
Sorry.
So have to apologize for liking someone in the sport. Your feelings are valid.
Definitely not. All opinions are valid on the chicane, even the ones that we disagree with. So
I just want everyone to race. Can everyone just be in the sport? Like,
no, I'm not gonna lie. Right now, I have an agenda. Latifi out. So
I will agree with you there.
So yeah. I've always agreed on that point. However, I've met him in Miami, and he's probably the nicest person on the planet. Like,
and if you guys are going to Canada,
and like it's gonna be really cool to see him in Canada. But like I sat down and had conversations with two drivers in Miami, and that was Latifi and Seb, and they were both like the kindest humans that like. I was always with you on Latifi. He's slow as crap. I don't know if I can swear on here, so I'm not going to. But so nice. But I'm like, I just want to see you in your Lavazza and just be happy.
And your Nutella. Like, it's never personal, though. It's never personal. You're just like, switch it up. Something has to happen. Go into, take a break and go to Indy and then come back. I don't know,
To be fair to him, he did actually finish ahead of two people today.
And two DNF.
And Magnussen. But Magnussen obviously had the floor damage that he was complaining about, and Albon, I think, just generally had like a really bad setup this weekend.
Well, as soon as Yost dyed his hair red, there's a whole thing. When he dyed his hair red, he was always in the points. And then Yost dyed his hair red the day before the race, and then Albon finished last.
Yeah. So. Other teams that kind of just like had difficult races. So you had Lando Norris with his hay fever and his tonsillitis. He was very sick. And Ricciardo just generally also hasn't been performing as one of the older drivers. We won't go into that today. I don't even know when we will go into that, because I feel like we haven't really dug deep into why he's performing so bad, but I can't, my stomach can't deal with that today. No. And Vettel and Stroll, despite their upgrades, also finished outside of the points. I think generally everybody, there's only so many places in the top 10, but it's always kind of weird when, you're expecting like Vettel and Stroll, for example, with their upgrades to be up there. You're expecting Gasly to be up there, and he's like way at the back. So generally it was just a bit of a weird kind of lower half of the grid, I think, this race. Can
we dedicate 0.5 seconds to Mick almost getting the points? And Yuki, I don't like Yuki, personal thing. The fact that Yuki like kicked him out of the points was even more of a heartbreak for me. And that was probably like Leclerc, I know, totally sad, whatever. Mick not getting his points, I am pissed.
Sarah, I just need to touch upon this. Why do you not like Yuki?
I don't. So, I mean, I could spend a whole 10 minutes on this. I won't. I'll be brief. I promise I'll be brief.
I didn't know this. Wait. Let me get the tea.
He has not proven himself as a good enough rookie. And I understand rookies take time to learn the cars and get better, but he's not spending the time with his team. He's not spending the time in the garage. He's not spending the time with the engineers. He just wants to like go home and lay around. Like, he doesn't want to go to his fitness training. He doesn't want to, he's like not helping his team get better. So therefore, if he's not performing, a lot of that is on his own initiative or lack thereof. And therefore, I just don't have respect for someone who's taking a spot in the sport when there's so little spots, when he just truly doesn't seem to care that he's there. But that's the short version.
Those TikToks are fire, though.
Yeah.
TikToks are funny.
Him and Gasly are like my favorite TikTok pair. I prefer them to like Lando and Ricciardo, for example. But yeah, that is valid. I mean, he's only got a 1-year contract anyway. So I think with him, what I did like was that AlphaTauri have been so quick to kick drivers out that they did keep him on for another year. But you're right, if he's not like living up to
he
that,
brings money. That's why
he
he brings so much money with him.
And it's great to see Asian representation.
Definitely.
Yeah, that is true.
So we've kind of reached nearly the end, but we always do something on our podcast, on our channel. We're not quite a podcast yet, but it is very, 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 very close. We always do our winners of the weekend and our losers of the weekend. So I'm gonna go with Sam first. Who was your loser of the weekend?
Oh my God. I'm gonna say Perez, because, and not that he is a loser, but he lost out big time. I would have loved to see him on the podium, and I think I had texted our group chat being like, I'm heartbroken over Charles, but the only thing that will just heal my broken heart is if Perez gets on the podium. And so I think he lost out big time. Oh my God, the winner. I'm gonna give it to Lewis. Honestly, besides his whiningness, and I agree with Sarah, what he pulled off was impressive. And it's really nice to see, he's been so down recently, and just to see him fighting. And maybe this is an indication that he's starting to get comfortable with the new car. But he pulled it out big time. And even though he got up to the top 5 or whatever, it's massive for him, and it's massive for the team as well. And it really just shows the support that they give each other, that, get back up there. We believe in you. And, even him, it's valid to say, should we just, like you said, Paris, he took a macro look at the whole situation. And I think that's when you see that dialogue and conversation happening, it's pretty cool. And to see that they, won from that.
I totally agree with you. And I'm still really heartbroken for Paris. So I get what you're saying. He's not the loser, but he did probably lose out a lot. Sarah, what about you?
I've spent that entire time trying to think of just one, because I feel like there's a number of things. Someone who I think was both a loser and a winner at different parts of the race was Bottas. The fact that he just kind of rose up there and kind of he was in the top 5 for a lot of the race, and especially that battle with Hamilton. I just really love to see them battle each other. And at the end, watching Hamilton pass him made me very sad. So I think he had a loss there. I think Sainz had a really hard race again, him falling down after that turn 4 spin out and getting so close to podium, but not making it on podium for the Spain race. It's just that's heartbreaking. But I really liked to see George up there battling. That was something that is a huge win for me. When he was given this position last year on Mercedes, I was excited to see him do better than Hamilton, and he's lived up to that. So that's been a win for me.
Okay. I think, Sainz, I won't say anything because I haven't done mine yet. But Mariam, what about you?
Very valid points from both of you there. Also, side note, can I get in on this group chat? And I think my loser was, I'm going to say Mick, because he was so close, but so far. And, we're all rooting for Mick just because, sad to say it, but because of who his dad was. So we all want to see him do well, and to see him come so close but just not actually get that point was just sad. My winner, definitely going to give it to Russell, because he's, as Sarah said, just kind of performing in that Mercedes and showing. I think a lot of the doubters, there are a lot of people that were like, it's too soon for him, he's still too much of a rookie, he's going up against Hamilton. But I think he's really kind of showing everyone that he actually deserves that seat, and he's done really well this season considering his car. He's put in such a great performance. So yeah, definitely Russell for my winner of the GP this time around.
Mine is definitely has to be Sainz. So I was like, because I totally agree with you. Like, it's the Spanish Grand Prix and you're in a Ferrari, you're in literally the best car on the grid at the moment, bar whatever issues that Leclerc had this weekend. And he has not performed as well as he was performing last year. I don't know if he just doesn't like the car, if he's taking a knock to his confidence, but usually when you go to your home race, it kind of galvanizes you despite whatever's happening. Like, you've seen Lewis do it so many times where he's having a really crap year or whatever, and then he goes to Silverstone. It's like, wow, like last year was a perfect example. And I think he did okay, but then he messed up. And I just think he could have just been like a little bit better. So for me, he's my loser of the day. And my winner of the day, oh, go on, Mariam, I feel like you were going to say something just then.
Well, I was just going to say, like, maybe there's a thing with Ferrari and their drivers and their home racers because, you know, Monaco's coming up. Leclerc's never finished in Monaco. So, Samantha, you seem so stressed.
Literally sweating, like, as you're saying that, getting nervous.
We literally did a poll on the chicane earlier, and Streets is saying that he's going to finish this race. So
the streets are saying, nice.
The streets are saying, we don't know. I gave them the options. I was like, is he gonna do like P1? Is he just gonna finish, or is it gonna be like another Niki Lauda historic car situation? I can't even believe that he did it in the historic car as well. Like, that's kind of mad to me.
I'm hoping he got it out of him. Just like get
I'm
that.
hoping that just got out of the system. But for me, my winner of the weekend, it has to go to Lewis. Like, I think that his whole attitude was so buoyant like this weekend. I do think that he was kind of trying to think a bit laterally, but possibly did throw in the towel a little bit, but he bounced back and he showed people. I think a lot of people speak down on his name. Like, they always want to kind of see him put in his position. He didn't have a safety car to help him this weekend. He literally just did it on merit of his own skill, his driving. Like, he overtook so many people to get out there. And I think it is just so amazing to see, you know, him, the haters come, but I think you can't say anything about him. Like, his whole everything is amazing. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it for us. Mariam, do you want to take it away?
As usual, everyone, thank you so much for watching. Please follow us on the chicane on Instagram and Twitter. We're very active on Twitter, not so much on Instagram. That's entirely my fault. And check out Gridclique. All of their links will be in our description below. They are amazing girls and they're doing such incredible work, and can't wait to see what more they've got to bring and what they've got to show us. But yeah, let us know your comments, your thoughts on the race, what you think is going to happen in Monaco. The format for Monaco will be a little bit different because I will not be able to record. So Paris will be recording with someone else, but you can just wait and see what happens there. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, and hopefully we will catch you again soon.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for being on, and yeah, catch you soon.
Thank you.
Bye.
Yes, this is
Bye.